Good afternoon. Welcome to Cross the Ditch NC. My name is Laura and I'm so glad you're here today. Over the upcoming week, we're going to be working hard in the garden to prepare it for fall planting. We need to pull the weeds that have grown in some of the places, as well as pull some of the diseased, dead, and dying plants. And then we're going to pull the plants that are just no longer producing. Once we get that done, we'll let the soil rest for about a week, and then we will transplant the seedlings that have been growing underneath our grow light, as well as direct sowing some seeds. I hope you'll stick around as I share some tips and tricks on how to clean your garden out and prepare it for fall planting. Speaking of seedlings, I want to give you a little update on our seeds that are growing underneath the grow light. So here's a quick update on the plants that I have growing underneath my grow light. They are doing really well. I'm getting ready to start pulling them out to harden them off, so they'll be ready to transplant in about a week or so into the garden. But here we have some lettuce, different types of lettuce. We have tomatoes, cucumbers, let's see, I've got some spinach and rutabagas in the back as well. On this tray, I have some chamomile, dill, let's see, I have cauliflower and some broccoli. And then on this tray is mostly broccoli and Brussels sprouts. This grow light has done really good to help grow these seedlings and keep them from getting leggy and spindly looking. I recommend having a grow light if you want to start seedlings a little early, so they'll be a little bit more mature and maybe transplant pretty well to the garden. You don't have to spend a lot of money on a grow light. There are reasonably priced options out there that are budget friendly, so I recommend just doing a little bit of research and finding the best grow light for your needs, particularly for the number of seedlings that you plan to start. You want to make sure that all of your seedlings in their trays will fit completely underneath the grow light and not hang up or hang outside of that grow light. So when you are preparing to tear out plants such as pole beans or vining squash, cucumbers, anything that you have growing on a trellis or a fence panel, a tip on how to make tearing them down or tearing them off a little bit easier, and that is cutting the stalks at the base and giving them a few days to dry out. It'll make tearing them off the fence panels or the trellis a lot easier. So all you have to do, come to the base of the plant and cut. I got a leaf in the way, sorry. Cut at the stalk, and that's it. So just leave it there for a few days to dry out in the sun, and then when you come back out to finish pulling the plants off of the fence or trellis, it'll be a lot easier. They'll lose their stickiness, the trindles will dry up, the vines will dry up, so it'll make it a lot easier to remove it from the paneling. So to give you an example, these are the Kentucky pole bean plants that I still have all lush and green. I'm still working to pick the beans off of them. And then these are the vines that I cut the base of right there at ground level, or at the level of the dirt. I cut the base of about 3 or 4 days ago and just let the vines start drying up. They are so much easier to pull off of the fence paneling when they're dry versus when they're still green. Oh, it's that time of year again. Cicadas. Keep in mind that when you are tearing out plants from your garden, whether it is end of the season and you don't plan to plant anything else, or you're preparing for a fall garden, that if you come across dried pods, so these are dried noodle bean pods, if you come across dried bean pods, be sure to save them, because you can save them for seed to plant plants next year. So this is the dried noodle bean seed pod that I just pulled off, and all you have to do is crack them open and pull the beans out, and then just put them in a little baggie, Ziploc bag, envelope, whatever you decide to use, and be sure to label as to what they are, and then next year you will already have some seeds to plant for your garden next year. Now, we're talking about planting for the fall garden. However, here I am still cutting a summer crop of okra. I will not pull this okra until it completely stops producing, mainly because I love okra so much. And my son likes it, my husband likes it. My daughter's not the biggest fan, but that's okay. I grow other things that she likes. But if your family likes okra, or anyone in your family really likes okra, I encourage you to find somewhere in your yard late spring and plant you a few okra seed, because okra is an incredibly prolific producer. I come out here and harvest this okra every single day. I have roughly 20 or so plants in the big garden at my neighbor's house, and let me show you how much I have picked just with half of my plants. That is a lot of okra, and I've picked about half the plants out here. I will have to tuck okra into my shirt rolled up, and I'll have to come back with a bowl possibly to finish cutting okra so I won't spill it between here and the house. So if you or anyone in your family likes okra, even if you can only plant like 5 plants in your yard, I highly recommend you doing it, because you'll be able to get enough okra off of it, if not every day, at least every other day, to make a meal with. I usually cook okra every night at my house. Sorry y'all, the gnats are getting to me. I usually cook okra every night at my house during the summertime when it's coming off fresh, and then I still have enough left over almost every single day to freeze about 3 quart bags cut up into slices so I can de-thaw them and cook them during the winter time. I don't pickle okra, no one in my house likes it, but there are a lot of people who like it, so that's another option to preserve okra. But like I said, even if you can like plant 5 little plants in your yard, you'll get a bunch of okra off of it all season long. And I've never grown okra in pots, so that is something I do want to try next year, is to try putting a couple of okra plants in pots just to see how it does. So if someone who doesn't have any yard that they can plant in, I want to see how it does growing in pots, so someone, you know, might be able to grow it on their balcony of their apartment or something. Another cicada on my jalapeno. Alright, so aside from cutting the base of the stems of the vining plants, the rest of the plants in the garden are pretty simple. You just pull them out, kind of knock the dirt off of it so you don't pull a lot of dirt out of your garden, and dispose of the plants. People dispose of them different ways. Some people burn them, some people compost them, and some people toss them by the road for trash collection or pickup for areas that have like debris pickup. If you have, I love the idea of composting. However, if you have some diseased plants in your garden, you do not want to compost those plants, because then you will risk spreading that disease to the rest of your garden when you take the compost and use it next year. So if you do have diseased plants, throw them away or burn them. That way you won't risk spreading that sickness to any more plants in the future. So we're gonna finish pulling plants today, or at least get as much done as we can. The remnants of Hurricane Laura will be coming through here in just a little while. So we are gonna get as much done in the garden today as we can and get everything finished up tomorrow so we can amend the soil and prepare it to plant seedlings and direct sow our seeds. Well, it has started to rain on us here and there, so we decided to call it a day. However, we got most of the beans pulled off the paneling in the back. There's still some work to be done there. Still waiting for the noodle beans to finish drying up. But we got a lot of the weeds pulled, and the plants that were dead, dying, or diseased. We went ahead and got those up. Did a little bit of raking in the garden beds. Tomorrow we'll come back out here and we'll finish pulling the little odd and end weeds that we missed, and then start with our soil amendment process. But there you go. I am going to leave my basil and peppers in for a little bit longer, and of course I mentioned the okra as well. My basil is still producing really well along with the peppers, so I'm going to leave them in there a little while longer so we can get as much basil leaves out of the garden, and we can get as many more peppers as possible out of the garden and preserve them for the winter time. The tomatoes are still doing really well, so we're going to leave them in their nursery pots for a little while longer until they pretty much stop production or they begin dying. So we're going to leave them there just a little bit longer, try to get some more tomatoes out of them, and then we will pull them as well and amend the soil and use those pots to plant some broccoli. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to go finish cleaning out the rest of the garden. Got most of it done. Still have some peppers and okra there, but for the most part things are cleaned out. I'm going to finish pulling the pole beans off the back fence over here, but I'm not going to bore you with the video of me doing that. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like what you saw today, be sure to hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, a like, and share it with your friends. I hope you have a blessed day. Come back again soon.